And welcome back to What If? This one comes from Marcus Kane, who asked the question, what if? And I'm going to butcher this guy's name. I have it up here. Hold on. I have the name up here. Lelouch? Is it Lelouch? I'm going to go with Lelouch. Let me know if I pronounced that wrong. Via Britannia, from Code Geass, had the Death Note. Now, believe it or not, I think this is just a little counterproductive of not oxymoronic, but I think it's kind of like redundant to have the Death Note. Obviously, for those of you who don't know Death Note, which how many people watching this wouldn't know Death Note, Death Note is a book that is possessed by the Shinigami of the Death Note world that they drop into the living now and then and just wreak some havoc. Particularly Ryuk did that. But at the same time, they can also just use it themselves. And what it is you think of a person, write their name down, and they die. Now, you can write the specific way they die, or you can just write their name down and they just have a heart attack. Either way, you can do it. You can be anonymous. And it's basically the way that the Shinigami keep alive. All those extra years go to them. But what if it fell into the hands of Lelouch? Well, again, this is a little interesting because Lelouch already has a very powerful ability, the Geass. It's also particularly his Geass is the power of absolute dominance, allowing him to plant commands within a person's mind upon eye contact in a manner comparable to hypnosis. It's the Geass that's basically most featured in the series, but there are other Geasses in the series. I'll have to look into that. Because those would make for some fun when it's give like Naruto or someone or like a Izuku, like a Geass. But in essence, it's got a lot of limitations, but it's still very capable and useful. So it already gets the job done a lot of the time with what he wants to do. The conundrum here for getting the Death Note is, he'd find the Death Note, pick it up, and obviously Ryuk would show up, and he would be like, what the hell are you? And he explains, like, I'm a Shinigami, Ryuk's the name. And so are we going to have some fun? And the question is actually very simple. Would Lelouch even want to use the Death Note? And I asked that question because there's a very different, there's a big difference, is what I was trying to say, between Light's personality and Lelouch's personality. Now, don't get me wrong. They have a lot in common, like wanting to change, being uptight, upright, polite, all that. And, putting on that very civil manner in person. But there is a big difference between their approaches. They both want to change the world for the better, but Lelouch didn't actually care about being the god of the new world. His ego didn't extend that far as I can tell. Light's did. Light was completely psychotically egomaniacal. Like, I will be the god of this new world mentality. Lelouch isn't quite that narcissistic. In fact, Lelouch actually does care very much about the people close to him, his friends, his family, all that. He actually does have bonds he cares about. Whereas for Light, people were just objects to use. And right there, and because he had the Death Note, and because you had this hyper-intelligent kid who just had a cynical view of the world, and obviously who had a clear psychotic tendency to him, he just decided to be the god of the new world and just take out villains and corrupt the criminals. Because he already has the ability to manipulate people and ultimately control them to his will, I don't know if he would actually see, because he's also extremely intelligent and not stupid. He also, I don't know if he would see the purpose in using the Death Note. But if he did use the Death Note, he would probably be a lot more strategic even than Light was with it. As a matter of fact, you combine a Geass with having the Death Note, which I guess is why this whole what if is suggested, and you have someone who can kill people on the spot, or basically you could literally put a command to have someone kill someone else, put a sleeper agent and make them a sleeper agent, and then when it's all said and done, take their ass out. It really is the perfect system of death, pretty much, and control. So I should note, I did not really watch Code Geass. I'm very well aware of it. I know he dies at the end of the series. He gives his own life for the sake of the world he's now created. And that, again, is he allows himself to be killed. And that is, again, very juxtaposed to Light, who was like, what are you doing? No, I don't want to die. And Ryuk's like, it's been fun, Light. And basically, he just thought himself so above everyone else that I was like, no, I can't die. And so, yeah, it's very a little counterintuitive, I think. Not counterproductive, I think. I think he'd look at it as like, I don't really need this. Maybe I'll use it a couple times, but that's it. And at the end of the day, he still would end up dying at the end of the series anyway, because that's his plan. And because Ryuk would be there, he'd be talking to Ryuk, and Langen's like, wait, so what do you plan to live forever? And it talks about the Shinigami. I was like, you don't need the Death Note, and you'll gain all the extra years they have. To which Lelouch probably goes, no, I don't need it. You know what? Nope, don't need it. And that's the thing. It's all counterproductive for here, because he'd be dying anyway at the end of the series, and probably would even let Ryuk know. It's like, yep, that's going to be the plan. Ultimately, I'm going to need to die, and that's okay. And Ryuk's like, you really are interesting, kid. He's not even going to need to kill him with the Death Note. Or maybe he does it, but maybe Ryuk's the one who stages the death for him. Maybe they actually come to an agreement about how he's going to die, when he's going to die, and why. So maybe that's how the series ultimately ended. Either way, the Death Note would be a useful tool, but I actually think he'd find it more irrelevant than anything else. He'd use it when necessary, but not all the time like Light did. Because again, it all comes down to the personality of the two characters. Light is drastically different ultimately from Lelouch in terms of how they approached fixing the world and how they looked at themselves. So that's my thoughts, though, and that's just my thoughts. What do you think in the comments below? Let me know. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.